All right, fantastic. So we are good to go. Hello, everyone. My name is Daniel Crane. I am the Program and Community Engagement Manager here at the Creative Center for Entrepreneurship. We're excited to have another one of our great webinars today. Before I start, I would like to say Happy Veterans Day to everyone. Definitely appreciate the service that all the servicemen have done for this country. So I just definitely want to acknowledge that first. Um, And, just a general reminder, the Center for Creative Entrepreneurship is focused on the creative economy. We are aggregating resources, building networks, talking with different people about how to help your business, your creative business grow, how to pivot during the pandemic. So I would suggest to everyone to go to cceglobal.org and check out all the events that we have going on. We have 30 events pretty much each week. We go and we aggregate a bunch of different things from different organizations that are doing great stuff. And all of the programming that we have on our website is free. So all you have to do is sign up. Um, and one thing that we do want to say is Midwest Music Expo this Saturday. Martin Atkins started it 3 years ago. This one is all virtual. We curated 2 slots. It's going to be fantastic. So please go check out MidwestMusicExpo.com. That being said, we're really excited today to have Mark J. Carter, who is going to talk to us about idea climbing. Mark and I had a great conversation I think a couple weeks ago, where he talked about how he has developed this concept, idea climbing, and had to really use it when the pandemic hit. Everyone's had to pivot their strategy. Everyone has had to pivot their business to figure out how to adapt. And he had developed this before it happened, and then kind of had to take some of his own material and say, okay, well, now I have to use this, this material to pivot my business, to figure out how do I adapt. He was a mentor at 1871. He's a podcaster, and we're really excited to have him here. I'd like to introduce everyone to Mark J. Carter.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. We will. And I'd like to dive in with just why I'm here in the first place is that I help entrepreneurs and entrepreneurial people bring big ideas to life by creating a support system of peers, mentors, and referral sources that provide support and will help them grow faster than they could alone. I'm going to share some of the secrets I've discovered over the 21 years of interviews I've had with successful people, and then applied the information to today's technologies. And if you're on Zoom, have your chat boxes open and be ready to participate. I'll be asking questions and sharing ideas, and with other participants is a great way to connect with people. Right now, today, the networking world has changed dramatically, and we all need new, effective ways to build and leverage our networks to grow our businesses. And the best way to do that is by sharing big ideas and collaborating with people that will help you bring those ideas to life. Big ideas can be writing a book, starting a business, rebranding or pivoting your business, as so many of people are doing these days, making a career change, starting a networking organization, and many other things. For business development, the idea should be about figuring out ways that you can help other people grow by solving problems and creating opportunities for them by offering your services. For today, the big idea is expanding your network and building your business. A key point for today, an overarching theme, is that it doesn't matter if you had 50 Zoom calls with new people last week. The real question to ask and answer is how many second calls do you have? How many third calls did you have? How many meaningful introductions did you make for other people? How many meaningful introductions did you get? I fell into the one and done trap. That's where you run around networking and only have one call with 90% of the people that you meet, and you don't follow up and there's no conversations afterwards. Now I'm out of that trap and want to share how to avoid it with you. Second calls are where the relationships start, and that should always be your goal, to create meaningful relationships, not one-off sales pitches. And yet you still have to develop relationships that lead to sales. We'll discuss how to do that in a few minutes. Situations and networks change monthly, especially with entrepreneurial people. Someone who can't help you today might be able to help you next month if you stay top of mind with them and offer them help with advice, support, and connections. You might be able to help them at a later date, again, if you stay in touch and stay top of mind. And one other thing that's really important as an overarching theme is you always want to give people two reasons to know you and at least two ways to help you. One should be about money, especially if you're an entrepreneur or you're in sales, about clients, your career, things like that. And the other should have nothing to do with money. Causes you're involved with, organizations you're involved with, podcasting guests, which we'll talk about in a few minutes. And the more reasons you give them, the more likely you are to find a common ground, which is what builds relationships, is finding that common ground. And this is what your networking efforts should look like when you get started with a new networking campaign. Is you talk to a lot of people at first, and everyone and anyone that'll listen, just talk to them about your idea. What's your objective? Who do you need to know? What do you need to do? And then there should be a tipping point. You shouldn't have to just be talking to 100 people constantly. You should have a tipping point where you start to talk to a few closer relationships and build relationships with them. And then that helps you achieve your goal. But you shouldn't have to be going to, 2 events a night, every night of the week. Eventually you should have strong relationships, those second, third, fourth, fifth calls and Zoom calls, and meaningful relationships that you develop over time. And another reason I'm here, and which was brought up a little bit in the introduction, was before the pandemic, I was in the meetings and event space, live events. I relied on networking events for building business development opportunities, speaking at events, running events for clients. And overnight, everything crashed, and I didn't know what I was going to do. It was just like so many industries, including the entertainment industry for that matter. Everything just changed, and a lot of business just died overnight. I had to do something, but at the time I had no idea what that something would become. I'm presenting this information to you because I wish someone just handed me a blueprint instead of having to figure out everything on my own. It took me months of experimenting to figure out what works. Hopefully this will save you a lot of headaches, speed up your learning process, and ultimately dramatically increase the successful results that you can get. What I'm going to teach you is what was mentioned, idea climbing. I use my own book, my own notes to create the action plan that I'm going to share with you in 3 different categories. And if you like what you hear and want someone to take the guesswork out of the process for you, that's what I do, in addition to creating full marketing and outreach strategies to move forward with. I'm going to share 3 ways to expand your network, increase awareness about your personal brand, and successfully market yourself and your services by sharing ideas and collaborating with people, all from the comfort of your own home. And if you participate, you'll leave here today with actionable ideas you can start putting into use today. And if you don't have them in front of you right now, get a pen and paper. Don't type any notes. There's actually scientific proof that you learn better and remember more when you handwrite notes versus type them. You can always review your notes later by typing them up and putting them into a Word document. The first thing I'm going to talk about is cracking the code on LinkedIn. I'm going to show you how to make more meaningful and valuable connections on LinkedIn during the pandemic than you ever could by going to live events before the pandemic. And you'll meet more people because geography is no longer an issue. You'll also learn how to avoid, as much as possible, Zoom fatigue, because you'll eventually primarily be having calls with qualified leads and relationships, not just anyone and everyone. And when I started doing this, I had weekly pivots and aha moments. And I did it out of desperation, and it worked out pretty well. And that was just with the LinkedIn strategy I'm about to explain. Results skyrocketed when I began leveraging all 3 strategies in the 4th and the 5th strategy, because I actually have more than 3. I just don't have time to explain them all today. And if you're in this group and or any professional group, you probably already do a few of these things with unconscious competence. The thing about unconscious competence is that it's static. Even if you're getting good results, your results won't improve because you don't know how you're getting good results. You just know that you're getting results. For some people, that's enough. If you want more, it's a matter of turning unconscious competent activities into conscious competence, and then adding more tools to your relationship building toolbox. Once your activities are conscious and you know how you're getting results, you can hone and improve your skills to get even better results. Let's look at the 3 levels of outreach activity. The first one is just building the foundation, preparing by updating your website, your LinkedIn profile, and other social media outlets that you use. Some people haven't done that for years. And then when it comes to marketing, the 3 stages of marketing you've probably heard before are know, like, and trust. That's what you want to guide people through the relationship cycle so they know you, they like you, they trust you. And with marketing, it's getting their attention is the knowing part. Get their attention by commenting on their posts, tagging people, sending personalized LinkedIn invitations to connect, and things like that. Then it's permission, which is like. This is new connections. You add them or they add you as a connection. And on some level, they must like you because they're giving you permission to talk to them. And then third is adding value, which builds trust. If you add value first before you ask for anything, that's the fastest way to build trust. And once you build trust, you can move into selling because once someone knows you, likes you, and is beginning to trust you, the sales pipeline starts by finding people and getting referred to people that you can solve immediate pressing problems for with your services. To do this the right way takes a little bit of time. Let me tell you from my experience, it's worth every minute of your time to do it this way. As far as your time spent on LinkedIn, I would suggest about 80% interacting with other people's profiles and being in their inbox. Really build relationships, get to know people one-on-one as much as you can. And with your own posts, talk about other people in most of your LinkedIn posts, what you learned from them, and share an interview with them instead of always just saying, hey, look at me. And help others more than you ask for business for yourself. When you do that, again, it builds that trust factor and you go through the know, like, and trust stages a lot faster. One thing that I learned that I'd love to share is leveraging LinkedIn posts, is find influencers to follow and connect with people they mention in their posts. Because a lot of influencers say, here's 20 great marketers that you should know and things like that. So you can then connect with the people they suggest that you connect with. And also you can ask your well-connected friends to list 10 people in a niche or two, like marketing, human resources, entertainment, music, whatever it might be, that they think their network should follow and put them in a public post that tags you also, because nobody is going to mind being tagged as a great person that you need to know. This creates a warm introduction and helps you connect with people faster because people in the post, it also saves time. It takes 5 minutes to tag 10 people and link to their profile. It takes longer to send 10 separate introductions. And what you want to do is search for hashtags. And right now, think about this with you, with people you want to connect with. What hashtags or keywords could you search for to find your ideal people to connect with? And if you have a pen and paper in front of you, write 3 of them out. And if you're on Zoom, list at least one of them in the chat box, share with other people here right today. And once you start doing that, you want to vet the people listed based on their profiles. Know the target markets that you're looking to connect with and connect with people in those target markets when you find them. And it's your choice if you want to reach out to everyone in the post. But if your goal is a phone call or Zoom meeting and your time is valuable, how many people do you really have time to talk to? So just be aware of that. You don't want to reach out to 30 people if you don't have time to talk to 30 people. And one tip for LinkedIn, only hit the connect button on their profile. If you do it anywhere else on LinkedIn, they automatically send a generic friend request that says, I'd like to add you to my network. And you always want to add a personal note, how I found you, things like that. And which brings us to connect, qualify, and call, which accelerates the know, like, and trust factor. With connect, the verbiage is Justin mentioned both of us, or Justin just mentioned you in a post about great people to connect with. If there was a list of people on a post, let them know who messaged them and name them. Or you could just say, I read your most recent post and I think we should connect because of XYZ. And you add a personal note based on their profile. I grew up in Michigan too. Congratulations on your new book. I'm also involved with the association that you're involved with. And then you qualify them after they accept your connect request. Send a message asking them what exciting projects they're working on. If you can, name their business, the nonprofit they're involved with, or other information based on what you read on their profile. And you also use this qualify process when people reach out to you also. For when it comes to call, if they don't answer your qualifying question about what they're working on, they're probably not going to take the time to get on a Zoom call or a phone call. And no harm done. You only spent 3 minutes writing a message to them and you move on. If they do answer your qualifying question, briefly clarify why you think a call would be beneficial and send them to your Calendly link. And Calendly is CALENDLY.com. It's an automatic scheduler that connects to your calendar. You decide what time frames you're available, what time frames you're not available, And it takes away the back and forth that you can lose connections with. Are you available on Tuesday between 2 and 4? No. What about Wednesday? What about Thursday? You just send them one link, it's right to your calendar, and they use that instead. And again, be aware when you're moving closer to the middle of this diagram and need to start slowing your networking down and focus on building relationships. You shouldn't stay on the left side where all those people are. You shouldn't stay there too long. You want to build relationships. And now you have a bunch of people in your pipeline. When you start doing this, you get an influx of connections on LinkedIn. You get an influx of potential relationships. What do you do with them? You foster your network, and you can do that through virtual mastermind groups. Virtual mastermind groups are an effective way to connect with up to 6 to 10 people in 1 hour and make new valuable connections for the people in your network by introducing them to each other. It also builds your brand as a connector since you're the one bringing people together. And I discovered this because when I started doing a lot of more networking, I just didn't have time to have unqualified calls. Someone that maybe I met 2 years ago, or I just met on LinkedIn, and I'm not really sure if we should have a call. I didn't want to sit on Zoom and have 20 Zoom calls a day. So I originally started doing 2 mastermind groups every other month, and I would invite my first degree connections. I would invite people that I just met. And I also partnered with an entrepreneurs group to market custom virtual events offered exclusively to their network and friends of their network. They did the marketing, I did the presentation. And for you, how you can do this is first choose a focused audience. Choose a niche that reflects your ideal clients or the people that you need to connect with. In my case, my virtual mastermind groups are for entrepreneurs and entrepreneurial people because those are my clients and potential clients. Which brings the question of the activity. Who can your niche audiences be to invite to your mastermind group? Write down 3 of them. And if you're live right now, put at least one of them in the chat box and share it with the other people here. Give you a minute for that. And on the technical side, for registration for your mastermind groups, instead of just sending out emails or sending out LinkedIn messages, use eventbrite.com, and that's eventbrite.com. It's a free service, and I would suggest if you're doing this, limit it to 6 people. You could have up to 10, but limit it to 6 people so everyone has enough time to talk and share who they need to know and what they're working on, which is what you want them to share. You don't want random conversations. And if you want 6 people to sign up, you want to open it up to 11 spots, because if 11 people sign up for free events, generally only half to 50% of the people actually show up to it. So opening it up to 11 people will pretty much guarantee that you'll get 6 people in the room. And for marketing, just like I did, if you have connections to people that run organizations with members in your target market, you can offer them a free value-added service for the members by having them offer the resource of virtual mastermind groups to the members for you. And people, this helps brand you, it helps get your name out there, keeps you visible, and it only takes an hour of your time because they're doing the marketing. For the purpose of your own mastermind group, it's to connect with and reconnect with your existing network and increase awareness about your brand. You can publicly market your group or just invite people that you already know. I would suggest inviting people that you already know, because I choose people that I'm previously connected with because there's at least some familiarity there. You can more quickly move people through the know, like, and trust cycle of relationships when you focus on existing connections. And this is a screenshot of what inviting people looks like. You could create a cut and paste message that includes the registration link for the event. And in the message, tell them why your virtual event is unique and what the value is for them. For me, I tell them I want to connect with and reconnect with my first degree connections in Chicago. So I put this event together so you can meet other like-minded people and build relationships during the pandemic. And as you can see on the screen right now, you want to narrow your search to save your time and get really niche. In my case, as you can see on the screen, I look at first degree connections that are in Chicago. And then at the top left-hand side of the screen, I use terms like founder, entrepreneur, owner, and it isolates those first-degree connections that are entrepreneurial. And it helps you make much better, more targeted introductions and more targeted attendance to your events. And when you do this, you search to the right-hand side of their name, you click on message, a small message box will pop up at the bottom of your screen, as you can see on mine, without taking you away from the search page. If you can, write a one-line personal message such as, "It's been a while since we've spoken, hope all is well," or "I hope things are going with," insert their company name here, and it makes it a little more personal for them. And by using that message function, it keeps you on the screen and doesn't take you out of the search, because some of your searches might be a couple hundred people and you don't want to lose it. If you get 10 screens in, you don't want to have to start over from scratch and sift through the first 10 screens again. And in the meeting, ask what they're working on, what they need help with, and who they need to know. Everyone should be able to answer at least one of those questions, and it gets right to the point with each person and helps you give them the advice, support, and connections they need to succeed and make the relationship with you even more valuable. And finally, I want to talk about podcasting. If you want to expand your influence and build a brand as a thought leader, podcasting is definitely the way to go. I spent years building a video library, and the editing took a lot of time, it took resource, it took a lot of money, and it was very complicated. And I needed an easier way, more time efficient way to connect with people. And it came up with podcasting. And for podcasting, if you want to get started, the first thing you have to do is choose a topic. And instead of picking a hobby like sports or just music in general, you want to think about who is your target market for clients, or who is the target market of people that you want to know. For example, there's a company out there called Sweetfish Media. It's a podcasting company. That's what they do, is they produce podcasts for B2B companies. And they have a podcast, but their podcast is not about podcasting, which seems counterintuitive. Their podcast is about B2B advice and issues because their clients are B2B clients. My podcast is about mentoring, marketing, and bringing big ideas to life. And what do people pay me for? Mentoring, marketing, and bringing big ideas to life. So what you're doing with the podcast is pick something that will attract the clients you want. And also, we'll talk about right now, choosing your podcast guests. If you have a podcast about the people that you want to meet and you need to know, again, clients, or if you have a career, the people you need to meet for your career, pick guests that when you connect with them, it creates an opportunity to collaborate with them as clients, referral sources, or other collaboration that could help you grow your business and that could help them grow their businesses or improve their careers too. For example, one of my guests, I'm writing a book, and one of my guests marketed 90 books to the New York Times bestseller list, and most of them were business books. I couldn't ask him to pick his brain for 45 minutes. He's a busy guy who charges thousands of dollars for his time. But by asking him to be a guest on a podcast and help promote him through a podcast, he said yes. And we recorded the 12 steps it takes to market a best-selling book. And he shared his secret sauce because I was helping to promote him. Another person has been involved with 60 startups. And now we're talking about cross promotion for online courses and other things. But that's only because I picked a topic that got me in front of the people I need to know. And or you can pick a topic to high level people that you would love to learn from, but just can't ask them to give you their time, whether it's hundreds or thousands of dollars that they charge, but and get nothing in return, or ask them to do that and get something in return. An activity now, think about for the virtual mastermind groups that we talked about, what are 3 keywords that you could use for outbound marketing and refined searches on LinkedIn? Write down 3 of them. And when you leave here, you'll have an idea of who you can talk to. For the podcasting activity, what could your podcast be about? Write down 3 ideas. And this can be anything: marketing, human resources, getting your first job out of college, getting your band signed, whatever it might be. I want you to walk out of here with ideas and profiles of people that you can talk to and people that you can ask for. And the same thing for the podcasting group activity. Who could your guests be? Who do you really want to meet? Who do you really need to know right now? And this is important because asking for a referral for a new client or asking for a referral to get hired for a job can be a daunting task and a tough ask. Asking for referrals for podcast guests is easy. I'm running at almost 100% success rate with people who respond to me when asking for and booking guests. And I get so many booked that I frequently have to stop asking for guests and just focus on getting the next podcast out of there. To make things easy for you, the technical side of things for recording it, we're using Zoom right now. Record on Zoom because you can see the other person. It's the next best thing to being in a sound booth with them. And Zoom will give you a file, so it's only the audio file, and that's what you need for iTunes is only the audio file. For hosting, Blueberry.com has phenomenal tech support, and to get started, it's only $12 to $20 a month. Really affordable, easy to use. They have the #1 WordPress plugin called PowerPress that makes it easy, and their plugin will get you on iTunes, Android, Google Play, and many of the other stations, so you don't have to go through every one yourself and figure out how to get yourself on all the different ones. It's automatically done for you. And I had already mentioned Calendly for scheduling your guests. I pick 2 days a week, Wednesdays and Thursdays between certain hours. Those are my recording times. If you want to be a guest on my podcast, sign up for one of those 2 days. Those are the only things available on the Calendly link. And to close out, 3 things you could do with everything that we talked about today is be somewhere, do something, and follow up. Be somewhere now, especially with the pandemic happening, is virtual. Be at a virtual networking event. Be on LinkedIn. If you use Facebook for business, be on Facebook, be on Twitter, be on the phone, be in your email. Just make sure that you're somewhere where you can meet the people that you need to know. And do something is what we covered in here. Ask them to be a podcast guest. Ask them to connect with you on LinkedIn. Ask to have a Zoom call with them, but do something and then follow up. Thank the people you talk to. Thank your mentors if you have them. Thank your potential guests. Thank your previous guests. Follow up with people, and follow up is what so many people miss out on. And now you have your choice of tools to create successful outreach campaigns. And personally, I'm using all 3 of the strategies I just explained. But if you're just getting started, pick one and do it well, then pick a second one, and then pick the third one. And if you did the exercises, you should have more clarity about who you want to get connected to, which makes it easier to ask for introductions to those people in networking meetings. And this is only one of the 3 extensive sections of the training and bootcamp that I offer. If I can give this away for free, imagine what my paying clients get. So that's the closest thing to a pitch you're going to get from me. And if you have any questions about this, here's where to reach me. All my social media profiles are on my website, markjcarter.com. That's my email address if you want to reach out directly to me. Thank you for being here. I appreciate the time.
That was fantastic. Thanks a lot, Mark. So I have a couple of questions, things that I wrote down notes wise that I really liked a lot. And the first one was the adding value in relationships. You know, how would you, if you're trying to reach up to somebody that's, maybe at a higher level than you, they're a senior director or something like that, how do you approach adding, like, what kind of value do you feel like is that you can bring to that conversation? Like when interacting with someone on LinkedIn or, or contacting them, how would you approach that?
With value, if they're say an entrepreneur, one way to do it
Mm-hmm.
is resources. I came across this great article. I thought you'd like it. I think
Mm,
the biggest value that people can add to relationships, and this includes college students just getting started in mentoring, which I work with, to startups, is connections.
right.
Connect them to somebody else in your network. Connect them with somebody that they can learn from. Connect them to a potential client. That some of those connections can be invaluable, and all you're doing is making an introduction.
So you're saying reach out to them, say, hey, you should meet this X, Y, and Z because they would be interested, or they're doing this. That's great advice. I like that a lot.
Yeah, and
um,
it's easy to do.
it's easy to do, yeah. I mean, I think it's sometimes for especially entrepreneurs and just learning how to connect with other people in a professional setting that starts the conversation breaker. I think people stumble on. How do I contact this person and get them to respond and not seem like I need something from them, or the perception of my message. So that's really great. And the other thing I really thought was really cool was the virtual mastermind group. Um, and kind of what it sounds like, what you talked about was that you are basically building like a monthly network idea, right? Um, and what when people come and join, what are the subjects? Do you premise the mastermind of like we're going to talk about this, or and then are you kind of leading the conversation, or do you have other people bring in materials that that maybe they want to talk about, or how do you format the actual group?
Great question. I do it in two different ways. One of my mastermind groups that meets weekly is based on a book called Think and Grow Rich.
Mm-hmm.
So half of the time it's at 60 minutes. Half the time we talk about the chapter that we just read, so people can get different viewpoints and different learning experiences. The other half of the time we're talking about what we need, how can you help me with my business. The second kind of mastermind group, the ones that I run on every other month or so, is I facilitate the conversation and people say what they do in one sentence. They share why they do it because that means they're starting to tell a story. It's not just a boring elevator pitch. They can connect to their passion and purpose more by saying, this is why I do what I do. And then it's talking about what are you working on and who do you need to know? Cutting right
Mm-hmm.
to the chase. Because so many groups, if you just talk about what you do, if it's a highly technical thing or a very complex service, I'm not going to understand it at all. But if you just
Right.
cut to the chase and say, I need to know CEOs of this type of company, I need this kind of a mentor, I need to meet this kind of client, and you say what the person looks like, what their profile is, their avatar, if you will, it makes it easier for people to say, I know somebody you should meet. So it's what are they
Mm-hmm.
working on and who do they need to know?
Yeah. No, that's fantastic. I think that's especially now too during the pandemic. All of the networking events that we all used to go to that we would talk to people about is gone. So it's like, how do we pivot that, especially that particular thing of like networking, but networking in a way that's meaningful. That's not like 1,000 people in a huge Zoom thing, but it's very and I liked how you put it, very niche, very clear of what you're talking about, who are the people you're reaching out to, that you said that you talked about personal connections as well.
Yeah.
That was great. And the last thing and excuse the the construction in the background. We're building a digital content studio here at the Center for Creative Entrepreneurship, which lives in 2112. Um, is the podcast, of how you wanted to have a conversation with somebody, and they were kind of unreachable because they cost a lot of money to talk to and stuff like that. But then you pivoted and you said, hey, why don't you come in and talk about your book or talk about what you're doing? Um, and for you, how long have you had the podcast?
About a year right now. I started out doing it sporadically. Now I'm up to 3 times a month. I'm about to shift it to 4 times a month. Make it
Okay,
weekly.
that's fantastic. Um, And where can people, so people should go to markjcarter.com to find the podcast? Is that where they would be able to listen
If
to
they
it,
go to
or
markjcarter.com, they can find the podcast. The redirect, I also have it directed from ideaclimbing.com.
okay,
Will take you to the page with idea. It talks about idea climbing. There's a short introduction video, and the podcast are at the bottom of the page.
okay, that's fantastic. Well, thanks a lot, Mark. I really I thought this was a great talk. I think for everybody out there that's listening, Mark has really developed some good tools of how to continue networking, continue marketing yourself as an entrepreneur, especially during the pandemic and in a virtual space. And I mean, the reality is that if you master this, if you become really good at this, it never goes away. We're not going away from virtual. Maybe things will open up in person as well. But as I was talking to my colleague earlier this week, now is the time to educate yourself, to build your tools, to learn, so that when things open back up, you have your networking, your virtual space really tight, and you've kind of picked up some new tools of how to connect with people, that will help grow your business and whatever you're trying to do. So, with that, again, my name is Daniel Crane. I'm here with the Center for Creative Entrepreneurship that lives in 2112. We are providing resources for the creative economy and creative entrepreneurs. Please check out cceglobal.org for all of our events that we have coming. Actually, very exciting. Mark will be with us on Friday talking about mind your business, mind your mentor, and how important mentorship can be, when developing your business and kind of the relationship between entrepreneurship, mentorship, and business. And it can be a great conversation. We're excited about that. We hope everyone has a lovely day. And again, markjcarter.com, ccglobal.org, and that's it. Everyone take care. Thanks a
Thank
lot.
you.